Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 253 of Album of the Day, in which for today's album review I am currently wearing a t-shirt that I recently got for my 19th birthday. It's a Brockhampton t-shirt. Very happy to have this shirt because I don't have too many hip-hop shirts in my collection, and also I'm a pretty big Brockhampton fan. As you may have seen, I covered Ginger here on the channel, included the album in my top 50 albums of 2019, so I've already talked about Brockhampton a little bit on this channel, so that's the shirt I'm wearing, and thank you to everyone on Facebook who wished me a happy birthday and all that stuff. Anyway, let's get on to the review. So today's artist is a new collaboration between a underground rap veteran along with a fuzzy electronic veteran. Of course, I'm talking about the combo of Aesop Rock and TOBACCO, and this is their latest collaborative album or project released on January 18th, 2019, and the album/project is called Malibu Ken, and as you can see, I recently got this on vinyl as a birthday gift. I actually got the CD first because it took a little while for the vinyl to come, but a couple of days ago I finally had it in my collection, and I'm very happy. I did give it a spin. It sounds really good on vinyl, by the way. This is a rap project that is, one of the first albums I got to hear in 2019. It certainly has slowly but surely become one of my favorite underground hip-hop albums of 2019. And I think it's definitely grown on me since I included it in my year-end list, too. Really one of the best album covers of the year right here. And then there's the track list. It's 10 songs and over 34 minutes long, and released on Rhymesayers Records, which has been Aesop's record label for the past decade, since his 2012 breakout album Skeleton. And what's cool about this vinyl packaging is that when you open it up and get to the gatefold, it shows like this face without all the flesh at the top. It's kind of freaky art going on here, which I love. And there's a little insert, and it's got all the lyrics in it, liner notes. Tobacco, 70s, gymnastics, Aesop Rock, 21 Bazooka Salute. Bazooka. And as you can see here, the vinyl came with like a little mask thing that you're supposed to wear. I know that because prior to the release of this album, I'd seen a video where it shows you how to put on the mask. Yeah. Here's side A, and then there's side B. And it's on blue vinyl, which is cool too. that's the vinyl packaging for Malibu Can, the latest collaboration from Aesop Rock and TOBACCO. Of course, the first time I ever covered Aesop Rock was a few years ago on this channel, and it was through his 2016 album, The Impossible Kid. That was the record that really got me into his music, and probably the one that's gotten some other people into his stuff too. He's definitely a little bit of a best-kept secret in the hip-hop world. And also, even though that record still did have its usual eccentric, kind of very complex bars, it also did have probably his most accessible set of songs to date. But this record, and pretty much that similar kind of style continues onto Malibu Ken. Buchan, his usual kind of experimental sort of delivery, along with his very sort of unusual stories for a hip-hop song. It's put together with some very fuzzy, kind of scuzzy and sort of monkey production from TOBACCO, who's been around for a while and is like of Black Moth Super Rainbow fame. And Aesop has collaborated with him before. He did appear on a track off of TOBACCO's Fucked Up Friends LP, the track Dirt. So, considering that track, I thought it was really cool to see the two work together and create this album and create this project together. And I definitely was looking forward to it because there were some great teaser tracks for this thing. And I will say I really liked it first couple of times I heard it, but I will say it definitely took a lot of time to really, click with me. And I admit, I didn't really love the album that much at first, but then I gave it another listen in June of 2019, and it definitely grew on me, and I definitely had it on repeat. So therefore, Malibu Ken's definitely one of the best underground hip-hop albums of 2019, in my opinion. The opening track, Corn Maze, was one of the teaser tracks for this thing, and definitely a very fun track. It's sort of a song where Aesop's sort of talking about his kind of disgusting, unsanitary kind of lifestyle, and there's a verse where he opens it up by saying that his morning routine or ritual is waking up in a gallon of sweat, puking blood in the toilet, taking a shower, and then turning to Malibu Ken, basically turning into this guy, sort of masking all his problems and all his, sort of like all the things that are negative about this person, and but he definitely does a good job, sort of having a lot of fun, just singing, just rapping about his most sort of uninviting, the most uninviting version of himself. And I think the video where he's playing video games and eating a bowl of cereal and stuff like that, I think only adds to kind of the mundane subject matter of the song. And the synths on this track are definitely incredible. The way that the synths kind of howl and create all these really cool notes, I think complements Aesop's bars really well, especially when we have those kind of hypnotic, ringing notes towards the end of the track. But my favorite song on the album may have to be the track Tuesday, which opens up with bars about Aesop's neighbor finding a mushroom growing inside of his car, and Aesop gets the call on tour, and the person on the phone sounds pretty emotionally scarred, even though the even scarier thing may be that he wasn't really alarmed by it because he's used to living in a crib that simulates living in a van, and also and also he has this garden that when he's gone it grows into this groundbreaking botanical epic. A lot of great poeticisms going on in this track, And this is probably some of my favorite production on the album too. I love the kind of vrooming bass synth that kind of leads the track. But then there are these wailing synths that come in the chorus that are just so downright killer. It's definitely one of my favorite moments on the album, and Tobacco really shows his skills as a producer here, as these synths come in sort of very dramatically. It's a very triumphant moment there. The song Save Our Ship, on the other hand, has probably one of the funniest hooks I think Aesop has ever written on the album. I just have to rap it for you. This news, clips of the shifty, crippled and misused, pigs in the pews, stick move, face down folk, recycle this fish food, all this news, metal in the water, man with split hooves, homesick blues, we'll lose, money over shark fin soup and stiff booze, all this news. The lyrics on here are really kind of strange, but they're just so catchy with the way that he raps these lines on the song. And another track where I think the synths complement his delivery very well. The kind of ringing tones, along with that totally unreal synth solo in the middle. We have the track Sword Box, which I think, given the lyrics, it makes total sense that these synths on here sound like something out of some sort of dragon-themed video game, like a Zelda. It's got a little bit of a video game chiptune feel to it, even though not quite as in the 8-bit lane as like other chiptune out there. And I think Aesop seems to be talking about sort of the role that he plays in the rap game, sort of the really out there person that is not, content to do anything conventional whatsoever. For example, he'll say, as a metaphor, I need you feeling freakish. That's when I really flourish. I wake up in a sword box. I brush my teeth with bullets underneath. Sort of a metaphor for how he is not afraid to take risks, and there are these things that he says he may not do, but he then affirms to other people that if y'all ask nice, I just might, resulting in one of the catchiest hooks on the entire album. And I love how sort of dramatic the synth sound on here. The intro is great. The kind of whirring notes that come in on the second half of Aesop's verses, and then there's this really amazing sort of crescendo in the chorus of synths. Overall, a great track, even if I'm not really that crazy for the pitch-shifted vocal samples at the end of the song, or feel a little awkward at the end, but still a great track nonetheless. The song Dog Years, definitely, I think, couldn't be a better title for the song if you listen to the lyrics in this track. Aesop talks about how he feels I love how sort of positively and in such an upbeat way Aesop says a line like, I'm rich when I'm broke. It's amazing. He's sort of talking about how he doesn't need to be a super rich guy. He's fine with the amount of money that he's got, and that he's making enough money off of doing really incredible art, and even though he likely won't have dinners with pop stars anytime soon. This is pretty much, what he does best, and, there's no need to, fix what ain't broke here. Here, even though I will say this song does have its pros and its cons too. Cons for me would have to be that, this is one of those songs where it seems Aesop is so esoteric and so, complex that I kind of can't really decipher what he's talking about sometimes. That's the kind of issue that I have had before with his music, and probably even more so with his older stuff. Uh, More so with his older stuff, even though I think he has a really good point here on this track, and I think he pulled off doing a more conventional rap flow on the song. The tobacco vocoder hook has taken a while to grow on me, though, but as of right now, I will say it's kind of catchy, even though I will say Tobacco uses so much effects on his voice that it becomes a little mushy. That's sort of something Needle Drop pointed out in his review, and I kind of agree with that too, even though I've learned to, it has, the vocoder vocals have grown on me, because at least they have great rhythm, and the melodies, I think, are really cool too. But my favorite part of this album would have to be the second half, where things get pretty interesting storytelling-wise. The song "Acid King" was the first teaser single for the album, and right out of the gate, I was definitely excited right from hearing this song. It's easily probably the best song about murder of 2019. It's about Ricky Casso, the infamous Satanist murderer who was really into underground music, and also took plenty of hard drugs, any hard drug that he could get his hands on, as well as he sort of had a very twisted mindset that kind of led to him to commit the murder of a 14-year-old boy named Gary Lowers, and he had, if you listen to the lyrics of the song, his mind was rather twisted, and it's sort of beyond just the usual, a demented mindset leading someone to kill another person. But he really put in a lot of effort, into this murder, forcing this kid to say that he loves Satan, or else he's gonna die. And then also sort of becoming this merchant of hate, and once he went to jail, and even being hung, and even being put to death 3 days before he was supposed to be. It's definitely quite a moving and very interesting story, and I think the way that the way that the synths kind of add to the drama, to those kind of kind of echoed arpeggios on there is really awesome, as well as the way that the song turns, and this kind of gothic ending that actually kind of reminds me of Depeche Mode or Nine Inch Nails, sort of indicating that the song is set in the 80s, so why not take music from the 80s as an influence too. Over a very chilling hook. It's definitely a very satisfying sort of centerpiece on the album, and that's why I think it's one of the best murder ballads of the year. The track "Suicide Big Gulp" is probably one of the more braggadocious songs I think Aesop has ever written, like Anthony Fantano had also said in his review. And I love all his references to Andy Warhol's famous Campbell soup paintings, along with knowing Crayola but no rose art is definitely a pretty unconventional rap lyric right there. We have little rap lyric right there, and also. I also love his line of, I make rap, I ain't a motherfucking peacock, is a pretty hilarious sort of way to sort of prove what he's all about, and how he definitely, and how he's making real rap music instead of the so-called rap music that just has somebody mumbling into a microphone, and sort of he makes a mean suicide big gulp right here, and really that term could mean a lot of things. Depends on how you interpret it, but to me it's basically kind of all of Aesop's, sort of the darkest corners of Aesop's mind basically blended together into this one kind of very sort of disgusting smoothie is sort of how I look at it. And the synths on this track are great. The way that the drum machine syncopates with Aesop's flow is amazing, and also the chorus where these with those kind of hypnotic arpeggios is definitely very catchy. Also, the song 1 + 1 = 13, on the other hand, seems to be about this guy with like multiple personalities who has these incredibly violent mood swings, and will be very upbeat sometimes, but then will be very depressed and sort of despondent other times. He's just a bit of a madman. It sort of reminds me a little bit of the M. Night Shyamalan film Split, where the main character is this guy with 23 different personalities, and the 24th is now discovered, and he's a little creepy at times, but then other times kind of cool and sort of funny. Cool and funny. But the song Churro, though, is definitely one song. I'm going to put a little bit of a warning here. If you love cats and gruesome images trigger you, I implore you, please turn off this video now. This song is about a webcam, a video of two birds nesting in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in April of 2016. Everything seemed a little innocent and stuff like that. It seemed like the birds were getting fed, the way they normally would and stuff. But the webcam did also catch some pretty horrifying footage of a cat being fed on by these birds, and sort of, turning the whole tropes of nature around of, normally it would be a cat eating a bird, but in this case, a bird was eating a cat like it was a churro. So the name Churro isn't quite as cutesy or as innocent as it may seem. It actually refers to something much grodier. And I will say, as someone who loves cats, this message didn't really come across very clear to me at first, but after a couple of listens, I did realize how genuinely upsetting this track is, and just how poorly cats can be treated sometimes. So, I definitely implore everyone, keep your cat safe, because you never know, a bird just might eat your cat like it's a churro. So Churro. Then the closing track on the record, Purple Moss, however, is kind of an underwhelming, kind of unsatisfying way to close the album. I find that Aesop doesn't really seem to be having as much fun on this track, and not that that's a bad thing. I get he was going in a pretty dark place in this song, but some of his bars here don't really, strike me as memorable the way they do on other tracks here. And also I will say this is the one track where I think the vocoder vocals on the hook kind of hurt the song. I think they kind of eat away at, Aesop. They kind of eat up the song to the point of it being almost devoured by the vocoder vocals. Though I will say, my favorite part of the track would actually have to be TOBACCO does weave in some very kind of weepy slide guitars on the track, which I do think are gorgeous. But other than that one spot and a couple other moments on the record that aren't quite as strong, Malibu Ken is a ton of fun. If you love Aesop, if you've been a fan of Aesop these last few years, this project probably isn't going to be anything all that new, but die-hard Aesop fans definitely will enjoy this project, I think. And if you love TOBACCO's work, if you've been a fan of some of his albums like Fucked Up Friends or Maniac Meat, or his work with Black Moth Super Rainbow, trust me, you're probably gonna drool over the production on this thing, because the production on here is really well done. That's probably the production has been criticized by some people who may not be a fan of Tobacco's kind of fuzzier sound, but I disagree. I think Tobacco's production complements Aesop in the most beautiful way, given that it's just as mucky and just as demented as Aesop's bars are. So, I'm going with a strong 8 out of 10 for Malibu Ken, the latest album from Aesop Rock and Tobacco, and I'll see you for episode 254.